Title: Buttercup and Stars, A Love Against the Tide. Clementine, or Clem to everyone else, was the kind of girl who had everything. Well, almost everything. Her parents had always been too busy to be actual parents, so she had filled the void with material things. And when she had asked for a pony, they had delivered. Buttercup had been her everything since that day. Her only source of love and companionship in the cavernous Bowmont manor. The manor was a testament to the wealth and status of her family, a sprawling estate that whispered of their power and influence, but to Clem it was just a house, a cold, lonely house. Her mother had passed away when she was just 11, leaving her with a father who was more of a distant figurehead than a parent. Sebastian Bowmont, a man known for his sharp business acumen and his even sharper tongue, had never quite known what to do with a daughter. He had tried in his own way, but his love had always come in the form of material possessions and not in the warm embraces and bedtime stories that Clem had craved. Now, with her father marrying Gianna, a woman more than 2 decades his junior, Clem felt more like an afterthought than ever. Summary: 1. Clem's parents were too busy to be involved in her life, so she turned to material items for comfort. When she was 9, she asked for a pony, Buttercup, who became her best friend. Her mother's death at 11 left her with an emotionally distant father, Sebastian, who later married Gianna, a much younger woman. Despite the family's wealth and status, Clem felt isolated in the Bowmont manor. Gianna had brought with her a son, Malcolm, a cocky, charming boy who had the audacity to slide into Clem's life with a cheeky grin and a silver spoon in his mouth. He was everything she wasn't: outgoing, popular, and seemingly at ease with the wealth and prestige that suffocated her. But Malcolm had a secret, a rebellious streak that he kept hidden from his mother. He threw parties when they were away, inviting the less-than-savory characters of their social circle to trample over the pristine floors and indulge in the decadence they had never earned. Clem had always rolled her eyes at his antics, but there was something about the way he didn't take life too seriously that she found intriguing. The night of the party was a swirl of lights, laughter, and the sweet scent of rebellion. Vera and Ben, twins with secrets of their own, had arrived early to help set up. Ben, a carbon copy of Vera with his dark eyes and full lips, had always had a way of making Clem's heart race. But it was Vera's smile, the one that reached her eyes and made her whole face glow, that had her feeling something she hadn't quite put into words before. As they helped Malcolm set up the sound system, Clem couldn't help but feel a strange sense of kinship with them. They were all outsiders in their own way, trying to find their place in a world that had been laid out for them without their input. And as the music grew louder and the lights flashed brighter, Clem knew that this night was going to change everything. The first guests began to arrive, and Clem felt a twinge of anxiety in her chest. This wasn't just any party. It was a declaration of freedom. Freedom from the stifling expectations of their families, from the cold embrace of their mansions, and from the loneliness that had become their constant companions. As they mingled with the other rich kids, all dressed in their designer clothes and flashing their perfect smiles, Clem couldn't help but feel like she was living someone else's life. Yet she found comfort in Vera's arm around her waist, her warmth a stark contrast to the chill that had seeped into Clem's bones from years of being an outsider in her own home. The party grew wilder as the night went on, and Clem watched as Malcolm's guests spilled out into the backyard, their laughter echoing through the manor's hallowed halls. She couldn't help but feel a sense of pride that she had played a part in creating this oasis of joy, even if it was just for one night. And as she looked at Vera, her heart fluttered with the knowledge that she had found something real amidst all the fakery. But all good things must come to an end, and as the last guest stumbled out the door, Clem and Vera stood in the quiet aftermath, holding hands. They both knew that they couldn't ignore what had happened between them, But they also knew that their worlds were about to collide in a way that neither of them were prepared for. Clem took a deep breath and looked into Vera's eyes, feeling the weight of their shared secret. "What happens now?" Vera whispered, her voice shaking. Clem swallowed hard, her heart hammering in her chest. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I do know one thing. I'm not letting you go." And with that, she leaned in and kissed Vera again, feeling the electricity arc between them like a live wire. For a moment, all the pain and confusion of the past disappeared, and all that mattered was the warmth of Vera's lips against hers. The rest of the night was a blur of whispered confessions and stolen glances, of planning for a future that seemed impossibly bright and terrifyingly real. As they lay in bed, their hearts racing with excitement and fear, Clem made another vow. This time it wasn't to a parent who wouldn't listen, but to the girl who had finally made her feel seen. "I'll always be here for you, V," she whispered, her voice a promise in the darkness. "Always." And as they drifted off to sleep, tangled in each other's arms, Clem knew that she had found the one thing that her parents' money couldn't buy: true love. The next morning, the manor was eerily quiet. The remnants of the party lay scattered across the floor like a battleground of glitter and champagne flutes. Clem slipped out of bed, her mind racing with thoughts of their confession. She had always felt something for Vera, something that she couldn't quite put her finger on, but now it was clear. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. As she made her way downstairs, she heard Malcolm's laughter echoing from the kitchen. She rolled her eyes, knowing that he was probably recounting the events of the night to anyone who would listen. When she walked in, she found him with Ben, the two of them sitting at the island, nursing hangovers with greasy breakfast sandwiches and strong coffee. Well, if it isn't the lady of the manor," Malcolm said, his voice still thick with sleep. "What are you two doing up so early?" Clem asked, trying to keep her voice casual despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Couldn't sleep," Ben mumbled, taking a bite of his sandwich. "Me neither," Vera said, walking into the kitchen wearing one of Clem's oversized shirts. She looked tired but happy, her eyes sparkling as she met Clem's gaze. They shared a knowing smile, the secret of their newfound love wrapped tightly between them. Malcolm looked back and forth between them, his curiosity piqued. "All right, what's going on?" he asked, his eyebrow arching. Clem took a deep breath and decided to let him in on their secret. "Vera and I had a moment last night." Malcolm's eyes widened before a grin spread across his face. "You guys are totally together." Ben looked surprised but nodded in approval. "It's about time," he said, his voice gentle. The four of them sat in the kitchen, sharing stories of the party and their own personal battles with their family's expectations. For the first time, Clem felt like she had a real family, one that she had chosen for herself. As the days turned into weeks, Clem and Vera grew closer. They stole kisses in the hallways, held hands under the dinner table, and whispered sweet nothings when they thought no one was listening. But the cloud of their parents' disapproval loomed over them, a dark shadow that threatened to swallow their happiness whole. They knew they couldn't keep their relationship a secret forever, especially with Malcolm's penchant for stirring the pot. One evening, as they sat in the library, Clem broached the subject. "V, we can't hide this forever. We need to tell someone." Vera nodded, her eyes serious. "I know. I'm scared." "Me too," Clem admitted, taking her hand. "But we're in this together." They decided to wait until their parents returned from their trip to tell them. It was a decision fueled by both fear and hope, a hope that maybe their love would be enough to bridge the gap between them and their families. But as the night of the confession approached, Clem's stomach churned with nerves. What if they didn't understand? What if they were torn apart? She squeezed Vera's hand tightly, trying to ignore the doubt creeping in. "We'll get through this," she whispered, more to herself than to Vera. The moment the words left her mouth, the sound of the front door slammed through the house, followed by the pounding of footsteps. Clem's heart jumped into her throat as she recognized the unmistakable sound of her father's heavy tread. "What the hell is going on here?" Sebastian's voice boomed through the hallways, and Clem knew that their time had run out. They both jumped to their feet, Vera's hand sliding from hers. Malcolm strolled in, a smug expression on his face. "Just a little housewarming party for my new mom," he said with a shrug. "Figured you'd be cool with it, Dad." Sebastian's eyes narrowed. "You've gone too far this time, Malcolm. Clean this up and don't ever do this again." But Malcolm just grinned. "Or what, you'll disown me?" The room grew tense as Sebastian's gaze shifted to Clem and Vera. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice softer but no less demanding. Clem took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Dad, we need to talk." Sebastian's eyes searched hers, and for a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of something that might have been fear. "What is it?" "Vera and we're together," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The silence was deafening. Vera's parents, who had arrived unannounced, stared at them in horror. Sebastian's face went from shock to anger in the span of a heartbeat. "What have you done?" he spat. Vera's parents didn't even bother to hide their disgust. "Get out of my house," her mother snarled. "Both of you." The girls looked at each other, a silent promise passing between them as they held hands. "We're not going anywhere," Clem said firmly. "You will if you want to keep living this lifestyle," Sebastian sneered. "You think I'll support this perversion?" "It's not a perversion, it's love," Vera said, her voice shaking but steady. "And if you can't see that, then maybe we don't need your support." The room erupted into shouting, accusations flying like shrapnel. Clem felt the walls closing in on her, the weight of their family's disappointment crushing her chest. But she didn't let go of Vera's hand. As the adults' voices grew more heated, Ben stepped forward, his own voice cutting through the chaos. "This is my house too, and I say they can stay." The room fell silent once again, all eyes on Ben. His parents looked at him in disbelief, and for a moment, Clem thought she saw a flicker of pride in her father's gaze. But it was quickly replaced by anger. "You're just as disgusting as they are," her father spat, turning on his heel and storming out. Vera's parents grabbed their coats and left without another word, the slam of the door echoing in the empty hallway. Ben wrapped an arm around Vera's shoulder, whispering words of comfort into her ear. Clem felt lost, unsure of what to do next. But Malcolm stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with something that looked suspiciously like admiration. "Welcome to the club," he said with a smirk. "It's a little exclusive, but we're all the family we need." And with that, Clem knew she had made the right choice. They had each other, and maybe that was enough. They would face the storm of their parents' wrath together, come what may. The weeks that followed were a blur of cold shoulders and heated arguments. But Clem and Vera grew stronger together, their love a beacon in the dark. They spent hours talking, laughing, and planning their futures. They even started to get a little braver, holding hands in public, though they knew the whispers would follow. One night, as they sat on the back porch watching the stars, Vera looked at Clem with a determined expression. "We should tell everyone," she said. "We can't hide forever." Clem nodded, her heart racing. "You're right." The next day, they posted a photo of themselves on social media, holding hands with the caption, "We're not hiding anymore. We're in love and we're proud of it." #LoveIsLove. The response was overwhelming. Messages of support flooded in from friends and strangers alike, while others spewed hate and disgust. The house was ablaze with emotions, but amidst the chaos, Clem and Vera felt a newfound peace. They had claimed their love in the face of adversity, and nothing could change that.